These are NIO's newest NT 2.0 platform cars unveiled at NIO Day 2022, and this is China driven.
Perfect.
This is my first time seeing these cars in the metal, and these are just display models without functional interiors, so it's just a first look. In our full review of my NIO ET7, I said the old ES8 had become outdated compared to the competition, which isn't surprising considering the speed at which the Chinese EV market moves, and the fact that the original ES8 went into production back in 2018. It did have a facelift in 2020, trying to breathe new life into it, but being NIO's flagship SUV, a larger overhaul was needed. And now we have just that. The EC7 is the coupe brother to the ES7, sold in Europe as the EL7, and it's obviously based on the new NT 2.0 platform. But where the original ES6 and EC6 shared a lot with each other, in fact, they were only different from the B-pillar back, NIO claims that the EC7 is a completely redesigned car, not sharing a single body panel with its boxier brother, the ES7. Front-end styling of both of these vehicles echoes all the NT 2.0 platform cars. Unlike the older SUVs from NIO, there is no separate X-bar trim. Instead, we get uninterrupted body colour down to the lower grille. It gives the front end a more clean look compared to the more aggressive styling of the older SUV models. NIO have really gone to work on this ES8 redesign. There's no chrome detailing on the roof here, and the squarish rear arch guards have gone in favour of a more traditional round shape. The dimensions seem to have been moved around a bit. The bonnet looks a lot shorter than the outgoing ES8, making this whole cabin look longer. Biggest difference for me is the straight belt line. The old ES8 had a kink over the rear wheel arch. This looks so much better, so much cleaner. And honestly, it heavily reminds me of a Range Rover Sport down the side here, but that's no bad thing. There's also more pinching in the metal between the wheels, making it less slab-sided than the retiring ES8. And it's more of the same back here. Gone are the old NT 1.0 taillights in favour of a straight LED bar with the same kink you'll see in the EC7, ES7 and ET5. And everything has been given a more straight line back here. The bottom of the windscreen, the bottom of this body coloured panel, it all works so well and makes the rear haunches look more pronounced as well. Woof. This is NIO's best looking SUV to date, a properly styled SUV coupe, unlike the EC6, which was basically an ES6 with a coupe slammed on the back. It wasn't a very cohesive design. Sorry, James. Whereas the ES8 has gone through a bit of de-chroming, the EC7 has chrome encompassing its windows, a very pronounced crease down the side between its wheels like the ES7, but unlike the ES7, which has a double humped bone line over its square wheel arches, the EC7 has a much straighter line. And together with its rising belt line and falling roof line, it gives it a much sportier side profile. The rear gets an auto-deploying spoiler that will deploy at 80 kilometers an hour, as well as the NT 2.0 tail lights, which, unlike the ES7, which flick up at the ends as they wrap around the corners, these continue straight. It's a smooth drop from that roof into the trunk lid thanks to that elongated rear overhang. But for style, you lose practicality, and the trunk space in the EC7 is going to be about a third less than the ES7, although you'll still be able to drop the rear seats. Drivetrains for the EC7 and new ES8 are identical, mirroring the ET7 and ES7. Dual motor setup with 480 kilowatts of power and 850 Newton meters of torque. The EC7 will rocket to 62 miles an hour in a claimed 3.8 seconds, while the heavier ES8 is 0.3 slower at 4.1 seconds. Still, no slouch. And NIO NT 2.0 vehicles are supposedly quicker in the real world than on paper. Top speed for both is just shy of 125 miles an hour. All NIOs use the exact same batteries with the exact same form factor, so they can be swapped in and out at one of NIO's many battery swap stations. Owners' current choices are a hybrid 75 kilowatt hour LFP and NCM pack, or a larger NCM 100 kilowatt hour battery. We're still waiting on NIO to release its semi-solid state 150 kilowatt hour battery, but that promises huge gains in range as well as a huge price. The EC7 slips through the air with a drag coefficient of just 0.23, helping it achieve a better claimed range than its boxier sibling, the ES7. NIO claims a 75 kilowatt-hour version can return between 283 to 305 miles of range, whilst a 100 kilowatt-hour version claims 367 to 395 miles. The new ES8 is obviously a heavier and larger vehicle, and that is reflected in its claimed range, but it does have a respectable drag coefficient of 0.25. It's able to reach 270 to 289 miles equipped with a 75 kilowatt-hour pack and 351 to 376 miles using the larger 100 kilowatt-hour battery. All of the ranges are under CLTC, so not real world figures, and the variations in range come down to what wheels and tyres you choose. Now, DC fast charging is claimed 20 to 80% in 30 minutes, and battery swap supposedly as fast as 3 minutes with NIO's upcoming Generation 3.0 battery swap stations. Prices for the EC7 start at around $70,000 for the 75 kilowatt-hour battery, stretching all the way up to $92,000 for a fully loaded 100 kilowatt-hour version. That's an $8,000 premium over the ES7, but the EC7 does have more features and options available to it, like electrochromic panoramic roof, like a McLaren. If you opt for BaaS, then you can get into one for as little as $60,500. The new ES8, being the flagship of the brand, carries a flagship price, starting around $76,500 for the cheapest 75 kilowatt-hour version, and all the way up to $99,500 for a 100 kilowatt-hour version with every option ticked, including things like the automatically deploying tow bar and rear fridge. Still under 100K though. With BaaS, you can squeeze into one for $66,500, which is actually a decent price point in this segment against competitors. You of course have the same monthly charges as all other NIOs for BaaS, which is 75 kilowatt hour is going to be 140-ish bucks a month, and a 100 kilowatt hour pack is going to be 250 a month. As I mentioned before, these are pre-production models, so the interiors are not fully functional. So I'll hold off any comment until I can get inside and scramble around in one. But expect high finishing and good design, as you'll find in the ET7 and ES7.
We do know both of these cars come equipped with the same 10.2-inch instrument panel and 12.8-inch OLED central touchscreen we find in the ET7 and ES7. Both come equipped with heads-up display, Dolby Atmos spatial audio system and air suspension as standard. The ES8 this time only available in a 6-seat configuration with either a rear fridge in the middle of the second row or 2 captain armchairs. Also, it will get 6-zone voice control. Both are rocking NIO's watchtower up top, consisting of cameras and LiDAR, meaning they're carrying the same 33 sensor array as all NT 2.0 platform cars, quad NVIDIA Orin X chips, so they'll be able to run NIO's future NAD. Obviously no drive today, but at first glance, this is a good looking pair from the high end of the brand.
This is a new ES8 and this is a new EC7, and this was China driven.
Perfect.